Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news. Apologies for being a few minutes late. I was just going through some stuff in relation to other stuff that I think people are probably aware of and waiting to come out today. But look, we're going to talk about Manchester United news. We're going to be talking about, well, Declan Rice. We're also going to be talking about Paul Pogba, talking about the quite an interesting comment from James Ducker in the Telegraph today about United's transfer process and how we are still really perceived as being quite amateurish. Lots to get into on the show, especially around Paul Pogba. I really want to sort of dive into that one as well. I think it's quite interesting that effectively Manchester United will be begging Paul Pogba to stay for more reasons than one. It's quite funny actually, isn't it, when you think about it, that a lot of people in the media and some fans want Pogba out of the club, yet Manchester United are absolutely desperate to keep a character like Paul Pogba at the club. When you think about the issues they've got at the moment, Paul Pogba is seen as the big superstar brand-wise that can steady the ship at United, because that's what it's all about. If you are thinking why United begging a player that's not really turn up trees for 6 years, a lot of it's about perception. United are interested in clicks, and Paul Pogba's a very good role model for that Manchester United brand. Anyway, let's talk about BoohooMan. They're sponsoring the show, and it's a good one for you this morning. Remember, you can always get 40% off with BoohooMan. The link's in the video description. But today's show is sponsored by BoohooMan Active, and as BoohooMan Active is all about getting active and staying active, no matter your age, we wanted to see if the United Stand audience, that's you, could guess who was the oldest player to ever play for Manchester United. So here are some clues. It's about BoohooMan Active, you see. Well, first of all, it's not Ryan Giggs. Second of all, he won 26 major trophies, including 4 Premier Leagues and 1 Champions League. He was in 3 Premier League Teams of the Year. He's currently CEO of one of Europe's biggest teams. You're going to get it now. And he played 130 times for Holland. Of course, it is Edwin van der Sar, who played his last game for Manchester United at 40 years of age and 205 days. So make sure all of the United Stand viewers stay active, no matter your age. BoohooMan Active have given us an amazing discount. Listen up, because this is a little bit complicated. So when you use the code United Stand, you will get you 40% off. I'm wearing some BoohooMan Active range right now. You can get yours 40% off. However, you'll also be able to get an additional 10% off after the discount has been applied. This extra 10% off applies to everything on the site except for certain sale items. So all you've got to do, hit the link in the description and use the code United Stand. You'll get 40% off, and then when you apply it, you'll get an extra 10% off once you check out. Thanks very much to BoohooMan as always for supporting the channel. I love the way BoohooMan always think of creative ways to get you involved, and I quite liked that Edwin van der Sar thing, because I didn't get it until I got to CEO of a European team, to be honest with you. I was like, who could it be? And obviously it was probably always going to be a goalkeeper, wasn't it? So anyway, look, let's get on with the show. Big shout out to BoohooMan, and you can get 40% off plus an additional 10% through the link in the description, and you could look and get active like me. I'm wearing their stuff today. Let's get into the latest news. First of all, Ibnu says the transfer window is closed. Mate, it never stops. It never stops. And obviously, as I've said, we're being spun. Of course we're being spun, but it won't stop. United need clicks. They need positivity. And, in relation to what's going on with Mason Greenwood at the moment, that is a very serious allegation, and we'll just have to wait and see, and I'm not going to get into that. But I think you can move away from that a little bit and say that Manchester United as a brand will be crapping themselves. They'll be thinking, oh my God. You think about a brand that, absolutely, prides itself on how popular it is worldwide, and then suddenly something within that brand is really damaging that brand. What's Manchester United's reaction going to be to that? It's going to be, they need to find other ways to make, people like the brand again. So it doesn't surprise me that we're getting these stories about Paul Pogba, and I think it was Rob Dawson in the Rob Dawson journalist saying that Manchester United are urging Paul Pogba, and I'll talk about Declan Rice in a minute, but this is probably more relevant. Manchester United are urging Paul Pogba to wait before he leaves Manchester United, to hold off on his decision to leave Manchester United until they've told him who the manager's going to be. Now, look, that sounds really, really ridiculous, but I would first of all approach this from Paul Pogba's side. So Manchester United are saying to Paul Pogba, please wait until we tell you who the manager's going to be. Well, it's going to be Pochettino, isn't it? But just wait until we tell you. It's going to be Pochettino, isn't it? Just wait. Okay, I'll wait. And then it is Pochettino, which we'll talk about in a minute as well. Why would Paul Pogba wait to find out who the manager of Manchester United is going to be? He's been here and seen 2 managers operate with hands tied behind the back under a completely crap board. Why? You know, they could bring in Pep or Jurgen Klopp, and Pogba would know it's not going to work. So, and also, why would Paul Pogba wait until the new manager comes in when he's been here for 6 years and seen a leadership that doesn't know what to do and has not been anywhere near a title race? Why would he wait to see who the new manager is when he knows in the summer he's out of contract, he's going to get a massive signing on fee and massive wages at a club that's probably run a lot better than this one? I don't know what United think that how that's going to work. Oh, Pogba, please, Paul, please, will you stay and just to see who the new manager is? All right. Oh wow, you've got a good new manager. I'll tell you what, I'll take less wages and I'll stay here under your ownership because it might work in my final contract in football. It's laughable. I just wonder what and how much money Manchester United are going to chuck at Paul Pogba, because I do think they will throw big money at him, and the reason is, and this is exactly one of the problems that exists at Manchester United. I'm a big fan of Paul Pogba, but there is absolutely no way he's worth 400 grand a week, let alone what they might offer him. Like, you know, and if PSG want to give him $500,000, I understand why, because they're getting him for free. We're not getting him for free. We've spent £90 million on him and given him 300 and something grand a week for the last few years. Offering him $500,000 is a massive pay increase. His form on the pitch does not justify it. But United won't care. This is exactly what United are all about. The only reason they're after Paul Pogba, it's got nothing to do with what he does on the pitch. It's what he does off the pitch. It's Paul Pogba, the brand off the pitch, a steady pair of hands, you know, very marketable. That is why United want to keep Pogba. You might want to keep him because you like him as a footballer. I like him as a footballer. But United want to keep him because he is brand safe and gives them big exposure. And that's why they'll chuck big money at him. And that is why United fail, because they're more focused on brand than they are on the pitch. Because to be fair, and I think Pogba would admit it himself, he hasn't been amazing on the pitch over the last 3 years. In fact, he's not been on the pitch that much in the last 3 years because he's had injury. So how would you justify giving a player a £200,000 a week increase and a big long contract purely because of his brand? And that's what United are trying to do. Forget a CDM, Mark. It was never this board's aim to build a team that it's just a brand. You're better off tweeting Elon because nothing will change under this ownership, says Julian. And do you think Ralph will have implemented any new tactics and ideas given he's had 2 weeks to think about what he could introduce to the players? Well, Daniel, remember the players were off all last week, so he might have some ideas. I'm sure Ralph Rangnick is that sort of manager who wants to do that. But the reality, Logan says there's nothing wrong with brands. You've got BoohooMan there. Yeah, I'm not running Manchester United. I'm not running Manchester United, mate. So your little smug comment falls absolutely on deaf ears, because if I was running Manchester United, I wouldn't be signing players just because they make me marketable as a brand. I'd be buying players to make us good on the pitch. So sit down, Logan, with your jealous little bitterness. Anyway, I think that's what it's all about. Wallata, Declan Rice is overrated. Let's talk about Declan Rice. So last night, I think it was Matt Law from The Telegraph was talking about Declan Rice and the reality that he loves West Ham, but he probably will leave because he's ambitious. West Ham would like £100 million, but they accept that Declan Rice is not going to sign a new contract, so his value is going to start depreciating, and they would probably have to accept big offers less than £100 million. I think where West Ham are talking about, and they're probably quite right here, they're probably quite right, where West Ham want £100 million is because Jack Grealish went from Aston Villa to Man City for £100 million. So West Ham will go, well, he's our captain, he plays in the midfield, he dictates the game, we want £100 million. So I think that Declan Rice will go for at least £80 million. Now, Manchester United, Manchester City and Chelsea have been mentioned in relation to this. I think, from what I've heard, that Manchester United are definitely wanting Declan Rice. He fits the profile of what Manchester United would want. And I think that... okay, Simon, I don't really want to start reading stuff like that out, but I totally get what you want. He basically wants a Kent t-shirt and he doesn't want anything to do with Greenwood. Okay. But I think in relation to Declan Rice, he will leave for about £80 million, and Manchester United will love the connection with Declan Rice this week, because ultimately they failed in the transfer window badly, and they need, a couple of days later, if United fans are thinking about Declan Rice, they've spun them already. My stance on this is that I think Man United would love to get Declan Rice, but I think they're third in the queue, and that's just, we're not even third in the queue in the Premier League, so I suppose that's a bit of a promotion, but we are not we are not top of the list for Declan Rice to Manchester United. We're not. Chelsea's his first choice, and I think between us and Man City, he'd probably, if he's got good advice, go to Man City. So if Man City don't want him and Chelsea don't want him, that's when he'll end up coming to Manchester United, because Declan Rice does like Manchester United. I mean, he's spoken glowingly about the crowd at Old Trafford, and those sort of things are great because he's talking about you, the fans. I like the club. I like the atmosphere. That's a tick in the box because that's generated by you. Where the problem will be is behind closed doors, the Glazers, the board, the incompetence. That's where Declan Rice should be getting good advice that this is not the right move for you. Man City or Chelsea is a better move. He will go to Chelsea because he's a Chelsea fan. If Chelsea offer £80 million and West Ham take it, he will end up in a Chelsea shirt. If Chelsea decide they want to go for something else and Pep Guardiola decides he wants something else, that is when we will end up getting Declan Rice. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with, we're not, you can call it sloppy seconds or whatever you like, sloppy thirds. The reality is, it's not a bad deal for Manchester United. He's a good player. But let's not pretend that we can go and get those sort of players now and he's going to choose as first choice. He won't. Chelsea is his club. And as I said, I think, man, the only way United could win this race, and let's be honest, is the worst way to win the race ever, which is what we did with Alexis Sanchez, and we've done it with other people, is we will offer stupid wages. We will offer stupid signing on fees to win the race. And that's, basically that's why you create mercenaries, because you get players because you're willing to offer more money. And but look, I do think Declan Rice is a good player for United. It will take a huge offer, and I'm sure Manchester United will make that huge offer. I'm just saying that even if we get £80 million bid accepted by West Ham, which we probably would, and I think we probably will, if Chelsea do it and Man City do it, we might not get him anyway. We didn't sign any players in January because they were unsure what the new manager wanted, yet they will buy Rice, whoever the manager is. Makes sense, says Dan Watson. Yeah, because that's the contradiction of Manchester United, because as we've seen in January, they make the decision, not the manager. I think you make a great point there, Dan, actually. So we didn't buy players in January because we're waiting for the new manager, who you will overrule anyway. Solskjaer was overruled loads of times. Mourinho was overruled loads of times. Rangnick got overruled twice in January, very publicly on Monday in relation to Lingard. So all this talk about we can't buy players because we're waiting for the new manager, you'll overrule the new manager anyway. The evidence is there. And you know what? They do contradict themselves, because they are planning on their summer transfers now. They know who they want in the summer, and Declan Rice is one of them. I like Rice, but it's English privilege price tag. He's the sort of player that will stand out at Tottenham. We should be looking outside the Premier League, says Apollo. You know what? There's a good point there. Another good point. We're getting some really good points this morning. Would you like Declan Rice at Manchester United? My answer is yes, I would. Would I spend £80 million on him? No, I wouldn't, because I think it's too much. I think there is an English tax on there. And I tell you what, if he comes to Man United, I think Apollo's just made something in my head appear that I hadn't thought of before that worries me. If Chelsea don't want him, and Man City don't want him, and we end up with him, why are we getting him? It's a good point, isn't it? If he's so good, why don't Chelsea want him when they need a holding midfielder? And if he's so good, why doesn't Pep want him when he wants a holding midfielder? What are they going to get? If Chelsea go and get Tchouaméni for 30 million and, Pep goes and gets some, Spanish lad or whatever from wherever, because he's very good at that, and then we spend double on a player that they don't want. Do you get the logic of what I'm saying here? Is that if Chelsea and City want Rice, he'll go there. We'll be third option. If they don't want him, we'll get him. But they want a holding midfielder. So that they're probably going to get somebody they think's better for cheaper, whilst we get what they don't want for 80 million. This is what United do. This is what United do quite regularly. But I do like the player. I just don't... And as I said before, I'll be quite honest about this at the moment. I would advise the player not to come anywhere near Manchester United. I I saw somebody this morning saying that I'm scared to bloody chant a player's name at the moment, and I'm like, I think that's a bit harsh. You can't tarnish the whole squad with the wrongdoings of one player, but I think we've got to focus on football. We're doing a preview for Borough at 2:00 today. We've got to start thinking about football, and I think that my issue with this playing squad is it's not good enough, and my issue with this playing squad is I think they've behaved appallingly over the last month in relation to dressing room leaks and unrest. So, I don't have a lot of time for these players and personalities a lot at the moment. What they need to do is put a shirt on and start, convincing us that they're footballers and doing the job as a footballer, and anything else really doesn't matter to me at the moment. I'm not interested in their interviews. I'm not interested in their pictures and things like that. I know it's an FA Cup game. What I mean by pictures is the winning team on the training ground, and we are going to get bombarded. We're going to get absolutely bombarded, because you know what? United's way out of trouble is to just try and spin as much positivity as they can, and I think we're going to get bombarded by that over the next coming weeks and months. I know it's an FA Cup game, but do you think the atmosphere on Friday night is going to be good or bad after everything that has happened as fantasy games? I think it'll be a good atmosphere. I think it will be a good atmosphere, fantasy games. I think it'll be a bit of a weird atmosphere, but I do think it will be a good atmosphere. As I say, I mean, ultimately, I think these Manchester United players. I mean, I don't want to comment on individuals, but they're arrogant. Some of them are very arrogant, and they just think that they have this attitude that they're better than everybody else, and they don't need to listen to anybody else because that's the pedestal that they're put on as United players. They're arrogant, and footballers in general are very arrogant, and they don't listen, and they think they're better than everybody else because they're told they're better than everybody else. And that's why over the last few weeks, the dressing room leaks, some of the comments, they come across as being very arrogant. The club's at an all-time low, says David. It is. What these players need to do, instead of listening to greedy agents and people telling them how great they are, they could probably do with popping onto social media and reading the outburst from United fans. And hopefully the penny will drop that all your arrogance, all your Billy Big Bollocks you think you're it, needs to disappear down the drain, and you need to start being humble, and you need to start showing respect, and you need to start understanding that yes, you're a Manchester United player, but tomorrow you might not be. You're not invincible. You're in a very privileged position. Respect the position, respect the club, and respect the fans, and get real. It's time to get real. It's time to stop thinking about, I play for Manchester United, I'm better than everybody else, or play for any club, I'm better than anyone else. Footballers need to get humble. Footballers need to get respect. They need to get back in tune with the people that put them there, which is the fans. And what we need to see on Friday is a team that is humble and hungry and respectful, and the fans will respond to that, because that's what the fans want. Manchester United have been very good, certainly under Sir Alex Ferguson, in a siege mentality situation. There needs to be a siege mentality. There needs to be a togetherness. I don't know whether that's achievable. Ronaldo's spoken about it and said that, they don't want to listen. Some of them don't want to listen. We know there's people in that dressing room who've been treated... look at Jesse Lingard. I mean, he's been treated badly. But he's only done what Anthony Martial did. Anthony Martial wanted to go, and they let him go. Jesse Lingard wanted to go, and they didn't let him go. Martial got booed because he wanted to go. And actually, he was right to want to go. Will Jesse Lingard get booed? Probably not, because he's from the youth setup and he's English, but he shouldn't be getting booed anyway. But how do you get that togetherness when you know that this club have forced players to stay that don't want to be here? We desperately need a siege mentality for the next few weeks and months. I don't know whether we can get that, because the relationships in that dressing room, there's a lot of distrust. Like, over the last few weeks, there's a lot of distrust. Can they come together as a group? I don't know, but they need to. Here we go again, Mark. A crap January. I don't expect a good summer one either. English tax corrupting the board's decisions again, says Andrew. And why did the board refuse to spend 10 million on Kamara in January? We'll be first to spend 80 million on Rice in the summer. Rice won't sell shirts in Ireland, says Anthony. Look, very interesting actually, just talking about transfers. This was from James Ducker in the Telegraph. He says there is a recognition that even if Richard Arnold, Matt Judge, John Murtagh and the new manager seek to drive change in the way that they recruit players, they will still be answerable to the Florida and micromanagement of co-chairman Joel Glazer. Others talk about Manchester United seldom being able to do a deal cleanly. Deal by attrition is how negotiations are often described. And what that means is that it's very interesting from James Ducker, because I think he's very close to being one of those journalists that gets fed information from the club, but actually he does come out with, you know, gems like that as well, which are very real comments. And basically what he's saying there is that no matter who the manager is, no matter who the negotiator is, no matter who the CEO is, they don't have freedom to work because they're micromanaged by the Glazers. And therefore, when they work in a transfer, and then he's talking about what others perceive as Manchester United, so others are agents, other clubs, they describe doing a transfer with Manchester United as a deal by attrition, and it's seldom done cleanly. So, you know, we've seen Liverpool in the past. They're linked to Fabinho at 8 o'clock and he's signed by 9 o'clock. Manchester United can't do that. Manchester United cannot do that. So it's very interesting, isn't it, that that is the case. And I just think it's really poor how that's done. So some breaking news: a 20-year-old man arrested on suspicion has been released on bail pending further investigation. That's from Simon Stone. A 20-year-old man has been arrested, has been released on bail pending further investigation. Look, we can't comment on the case because he's out. But this is why I'd always said you're innocent till you're proven guilty, because this is now where this really hits home. He's on bail. He's not even been charged. They haven't got the evidence to charge him. That is really going to blow people's minds as to why he's out on bail when you've seen those pictures and things that came out on Sunday. And this is why trial by media is so dangerous, because people are going to go, how has he not been charged? How is he out on bail? How is he free out on bail? And he'll have bail conditions. I'm sure there will be some bail conditions about staying away from the victim, and you know, might be, I don't know what bail conditions he's got, but he's not been charged. So he's not even waiting court date. He's not been charged with any offence. Therefore, the law of the land, and you've got to understand this, is innocent until proven guilty. Well, he's not even been charged. So all these people saying, you know, I just think there's going to be a lot of confusion there, and this is the problem. People want trial by media. Well, I've seen all the evidence I want. You know, I've seen people talking about this. I've seen all the evidence I want. People say innocent until proven guilty. I've seen all the evidence I want, and he's done it, and that's that. Well, the police have seen all the evidence. They've not even bloody charged him. They've kept him in custody for 3 days. So, this is gonna, you know. This was what I was trying to say on Sunday. It's such a volatile situation because it's such a vile crime if it's been committed. But the police have released him on bail. They have not charged him. With the evidence they've got, they've not even charged him. So this is really, really going to get dangerous into how this gets handled. I mean, I would presume Manchester United are in a safe position where they can say, look, you're under investigation for a very serious offence. You're not playing for Manchester United. But could we be on the road now to a situation whereby the police don't get to the evidence that they need? Why haven't they got the evidence they need? Maybe they'll never get the evidence they need. And let me just say this in relation to police investigations. You know, I worked in the police. You don't like bailing people who've done serious things because you want to get them charged. And the reality is they haven't got the evidence to charge him. That's the reality at this moment in time. They might have in the future, but if they can't get that evidence in the 3 days he's been in custody, there's clearly an issue there. And, you know, there is a possibility here, and I think people need to get their head around this. There is a possibility here that he at some point will not be charged and therefore will be released without charge and therefore is innocent in the eyes of the law. So people need to get their head around the fact that this is an ongoing investigation, and trial by media is never a good idea. Never a good idea. And there'll be a lot of people who are very surprised that the police have released him on bail and not charged him. I'm not, because I don't know the evidence of the case, and neither do you. What we do know is we saw pictures and recordings on Sunday, but we don't know the stories behind that. We don't know this. We don't know if there's any more evidence. We don't know. We don't know what's going on, and we're not going to know because of confidentiality and an ongoing investigation. But I don't. From a footballing point of view, I don't. It doesn't matter. From a victim point of view, you wonder what's going on there. Maybe that victim's not willing to give a statement, and that makes the police jobs very, very, very different. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I certainly would say this: if the evidence that we don't know the evidence, if what we know from Sunday, and there was you would expect that somebody would get charged based on that, but obviously we don't know the full story. Mark Mendy also went on bail, still has a case, says Elijah. Mendy's been charged. I'm pretty sure Mendy got charged. I don't know. The thing is, it's trial by media, isn't it? We're trying to work out something that we don't have the facts on, and that's very dangerous. Thanks for the contribution, Chris. He won't be playing for Manchester United. I think it's safe to say he won't be playing for Manchester United. Not while he's on bail. Basuma doesn't have a similar case at all, Lee Dixon. That's not domestic abuse, so it's not the same at all. And there's a lot of people making very valid points in the chat, but we can't talk about that. This is what I said on Sunday, and people need to understand it. And it's not nice to be doing this in a live situation because you'll get people and idiots in the chat. But the reality is, you're innocent until you're proven guilty. And when somebody's released on bail, they're still under investigation, but they've not been charged with any offence. So the law of the land says innocent till proven guilty. And the problem you're going to get with that is that trial by media, which is what we've seen over the last 3 days with people on social media, they'll be going, oh, why not, why not, why not? Well, I can think of a few reasons why not, but we're not part of that investigation. So you've just got to be patient and let justice take its course, I'm afraid. But the reality is, he ain't been charged. He's out on bail. So, according to the law, he's innocent until proven guilty, and he's not even been charged. He's not even going to court. So, let's see what happens with that. People need, you don't have to believe in it, but you have to respect it. He has not been charged with any offence that he's been arrested with. He is innocent until proven guilty, and that is because the police say so, the government say so, the law of this land says so. That's where it's at this moment in time. So what we were talking about in relation to Declan Rice, I mean, I think Manchester United will try and sign Declan Rice, but ultimately Joshua says quite rightly, all I'm going to say is I hope the girl is looked after if this whole thing is going to get dragged out, says Joshua Bowerwater. Yeah, exactly, 100%. My mind's running 100 million miles an hour, but lack of evidence doesn't mean he didn't do it, says not a number. So you're delving into stuff now, you're speculating now. I saw somebody saying there, at the end of the day, he could end up still marrying that girl. And, that's speculation. But ultimately, if he doesn't get done with anything, they could be back together. Of course they could. Why wouldn't they be back together if that was the case, if he's not guilty of anything? So, speculation, you see. Nobody knows the story. Everyone wants to do it by media. Everyone wants to go, oh, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, this is going to happen. People start going on about, oh, money's changed in hand. It's just an example of how rich young people can get away with anything. Or, well, it's not just rich young footballers, is it? It's anybody with money. But again, you're speculating. Speculating is not going to do anything. Follow what's happened. someone's been arrested, they've been bailed, they've not been charged. That's going to rumble on for a very long time, and I think while it rumbles on, United 100% will not be picking him for Manchester United, because it would be too dangerous for them to do that. Manchester United we will not see Mason Greenwood in a Manchester United shirt until this case is resolved one way or another. And if the police say there's not enough evidence to do anything with it, he will be back in a Manchester United shirt, because he will be innocent, because he's not been proven guilty in law. But we're not at that point yet. He will be on bail, which he is, and he will not be playing for Manchester United. Because imagine if you put him in a Man United shirt at the moment while he's on bail for serious offences, it's just never going to happen. So we don't know how long he's on bail for. Is he on bail for a week? Is he on bail for 3 months? Is he on bail for 6 months? He could be back playing for Manchester United after that bail period if they find they haven't got the evidence. So we'll just have to wait and see. But for now, to be honest with you, and I understand that a lot of people don't understand the law and they might not live in this country. Basically, he's in a very similar position to what he's been with since Sunday. At the moment, he's under investigation for serious offences. He's just been bailed while the police do further inquiries, and that could go on for weeks. It could go on for months. So that's not. Ultimately, the most important thing, as we keep saying, is the victim in the case. That's where you've got to, keep your thoughts. And football and everyone else has to just take a back seat and just, as many people have said, we've just got to get used to the immediate future without that player involved. Rice will only come to United if Chelsea bow out. Yes, 100% AJ. And the transfer window did not help either. For the fact we did nothing made our squad more than thin. Nothing to be happy about with the club, says HTD. So look, we've spoken about Declan Rice. The next thing I want to talk about is Pochettino. There are still strong rumours that Pochettino thinks he will be Manchester United's next manager. I personally don't want Pochettino at Manchester United. I think Pochettino is almost like an Aldi version of Mourinho when we got him. And what I mean by that is he's a sacked manager by a Premier League club who has held on to a good reputation, who is desperate for the Manchester United job. For me, they're very different in their style of football, but Pochettino is just Mourinho. He's a big, high-profile manager who I think has had better days, who is desperate for this job because he thinks he can turn United around. And we've done this before. I think Pochettino is very similar to the Mourinho thing. And what he will find is he's so desperate for the job that he will give up control. Mourinho was desperate for this job because he wanted to prove everybody wrong after being sacked by Chelsea. And he gave up control. Mourinho didn't have control at Manchester United. He got overruled on quite a lot of things. Now, if we'd been desperate for Mourinho, the contract would have been very different because he would have said, I'll take the job, but I want total control on ins and outs. He didn't have that because he was desperate for the job. Pochettino will be desperate for this job. PSG don't want him anymore. And people go, oh, yeah, the thing is, like, although Pochettino's got Messi, Neymar and Mbappe, they won't run around. So it's a really hard job. And the Stevenage manager thinks they've got it hard. He's got Messi, Neymar and Mbappe, but they won't run around. It's not Pochettino's fault. They won't press from the front. You've got three of the best players in the world and he can't get them to play in the style that he wants. Maybe he's not a good coach. I don't mind Pochettino. I do think he's a good coach, but I don't think he's the saviour for Manchester United. And he's another desperate manager. And, this is why the Glazers will love him. Because they will go, he's absolutely desperate for the job. Apparently Joel Glazer is a big admirer of Pochettino. I think Pochettino is going to be United's next manager, to be honest. But I'm concerned about it. I was concerned about him before he went to PSG and people wanted him after Ollie. I was like, what? Well, a lot of people will be very simplistic and say, what has he won? And that's a very good point. What has he won? But I'm not convinced by Pochettino. He's had all the money in the world and fantastic players at PSG and they're not particularly good. Which means he's not particularly good at managing big egos, is he? And as we know, Man United are full of big egos. So, how's he going to do with that? Walking into that dressing room, Poch will be sat in the corner while everyone's arguing, going, please listen to my tactics. So I don't think Pochettino's the right man. That doesn't mean Ten Hag's the right man either. I mean, I personally think Conte was the one to bring in. I think United need a character like that in that dressing room. I don't know why people say he's too short term. we've not had a manager for longer than 3 years yet since Sir Alex Ferguson. So I would have brought Conte in because he would have torn the art. He would have absolutely torn apart the board. He would have torn apart the dressing room, and he would have been in charge. And I think United desperately need a big personality as the manager who takes no shit. And obviously, I don't think Pochettino's that. I don't think I'm not sure about whether Ten Hag's that. But I think the best solution for United is that Ranić is given more power, is allowed to move above the manager, and you bring someone like Ten Hag in. I think that, to me, at this moment in time, is probably the right option. I don't think Pochettino's the right option. I don't think Ranić and Pochettino are going to work particularly well. In fact, I think if we bring Pochettino in, I don't even think Ranić will take that consultancy job, because he's not been listened to anyway, has he? So, look, I'll keep saying what I'm saying. I think Man United are in a right bloody mess. I really do. And, Luis Enrique is an interesting one, but I'm not so sure ahead of a World Cup he's going to take a job in the summer, is he? So, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. We've just been live with that big Mason Greenwood news that he's been released on bail, which, it is what it is. I have my opinion on it, but I will hold my opinion on it because it shouldn't be being put out publicly anyway. It's an ongoing investigation, and you need to respect the law, which is people are innocent till proven guilty. The last thing you want is people taking the law into their own hands. What's he going to do over the next few weeks and months? I'm sure if he's out on the streets, people are going to be shouting all sorts at him. And the reality is that right? Ideally, my opinion is I really wish the police had been in a position to either charge him or release him without charge. Putting somebody on bail leaves you in that halfway house of what's going to happen, and it's not good for the victim, and it's not good for anybody. But that's the victim's the most important thing. So I am surprised that he's been released on bail, but that just, to me, in my experience, says that they've got a really difficult investigation there, with a few barriers in the way, because I think everybody would want that to be concluded one way or the other, and they obviously don't feel that they can release him without charge at the moment, which means it's over. But they clearly don't feel they've got enough evidence to charge him with it at the moment, which means there must be a feeling that there are some barriers in the way at the moment, and we don't know what that is, and that's why trial by media is always a bad thing. Thanks everybody for watching. I will be on Twitch today, and we have got a preview for the Middlesbrough game at 2 o'clock. So thanks everybody for watching. Really appreciate that. I know it's difficult. I know it's confusing. And it's very real matters that don't relate to football. Yeah, take care everyone, and I'll speak to you all in a bit. Oh, just very, very quickly, don't forget, BoohooMan, 40% off. Links in the video description. 40% off with a further 10% with the code United Stand. I'm wearing some of the BoohooMan stuff now. Links in the video description. Check it out, BoohooMan Active Range. Thank you very much.